Okay, we're now joined by two members of the race-winning team, the Hendrick Motorsports president and GM, Jeff Andrews, and the crew chief of the number 5, Cliff Daniels. If you have a question for either of these gentlemen, raise your hands. We'll get right to them. Who wants to lead us off? We'll go over here to Jeff and then to Mitchell.
Yeah, Cliff, I mean, the speed that you guys had today, I'm sure that you were expecting this and hoping for this, but is this indicative of what you thought the season would be like for Chevrolet and for Hendrick to come out like this?
I mean, I think one advantage that we probably have right now is, just the continuity of what we know of our car. To be honest, I thought the Toyota's pace was pretty impressive today. Like the 45 was really good. Just knowing that their car is different, I would imagine the balance and some of the handling characteristics are a little bit different just from an aero standpoint. So the continuity of our stuff and the depth of our notes, I think was really helpful for today. We're going to have to keep evolving pretty quick because the more they start to get their stuff figured out, the gap's going to get closed. And to be honest, I know that, win both stages and win the race, you would say we had the dominant day, but there were some cars that were pretty tough right there with us. And at the end of long runs, the 45 was there every time. So I think the gap is actually tighter than what it may look on paper.
Mitchell?
Just Figo, the racing experts. Cliff, you talked about last time y'all were out here just how difficult it is to win races. You guys are notoriously amazing on pit road. Just talk about how difficult it is to maintain that consistency week after week, and just how difficult it is to win these races.
Yeah, it's really tough, and it's an evolving process, and so proud of the folks at Hendrick Motorsports and our pit department, the guys on the 5 team. It may sound cliche to say of how much work they put in, but they really do. Even rainy days now, we've figured out how to do pit stops on rainy days and things like that for pit practice. They put in the work, and when you put in the work and you have the reps, we have all the same guys, all the same team from last year. They know each other, they understand each other, and you just have to keep evolving, which is what they've done. Middle of the race, we had a couple wonky pit stops. Things got weird with how we were flipping some tires around, but the 5 team, they executed so well on pit road at the end of the race. That was really cool.
Any more questions for either Cliff or go to Bob, and then over here.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. For Cliff, I mean, is there any sort of sense of relief in the sense of you had the speed here in October and you come back and it's still there?
Yeah, I would say it's a relief for sure. And to the point I mentioned, it's really fun to be a part of with all the folks at Chevrolet right now. We don't have a new submission, and we know the other OEMs do. And everyone at Chevrolet, everyone at Hendrick Motorsports, like our sense of urgency is there. Like we know that we've got to keep evolving, kind of like I mentioned to Jeff, just the continuity of our stuff and keep understanding our stuff better. So we still have to push. We still made setup changes from the fall to here because we didn't quite have the long run pace that some other guys had in the fall. I would still argue we needed a little bit more today. We've got to keep evolving and we've got to keep pushing. So to your direct question, yes, it was a relief, but certainly not satisfied.
And because you won this week, will that impact anything on maybe how you start practice next week with the new diffuser? I mean, will you maybe go in a route just to see, because since you kind of have a win in the bank now?
Totally valid question. The cake is mostly baked for everyone's Phoenix stuff. The cars are going to leave Tuesday morning. So in the next 24 hours, there's just not a lot that you're going to do different to the cars from the shop prep. When we get there, I'm sure there's things that we may talk through and look at with our teammates of trying to be the most helpful for the practice plan since you have a full practice. The one thing that I am surprised about, and to tip you guys off a little bit for next week, is some of the aero map of that car and things that you kind of have to look at different from the conventional aero map of the next gen car. So it's actually going to be exciting to get to go, play that out and see how it goes. The drivers were really positive at the test that we were a part of in December, January, whenever it was, just of what that aero package was going to be. And we've got to do stuff different to accommodate that. So to be honest with you, it's a bit of an unknown for everyone.
Did you get that aero map from the wheel force test to the weekend?
It's been evolving. So we knew some of the aero of what that was because it wasn't really on the plan. That actual configuration wasn't on the original test plan for the December test. I think it was December. And it was very late in day 2, after feedback from the drivers of, hey, we want this spoiler and let's try this diffuser again, that I applaud NASCAR. They completely listened to the feedback of the drivers. Hey, let's bolt it on and go do some more group runs. And it actually raced pretty well. And the drivers liked how they could drive the cars a little bit more sideways, have a little bit more to lean on. And then to your question, Bob, yes, there was a wheel force test. So we've kind of been evolving it from that point. I would imagine everybody's been investigating the same stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And obviously we're all optimistic to do anything we can do to improve the short track racing.
Go over here.
Hey, Roger, UNLV Rebel Report. Cliff, ever since you and Kyle paired up, you guys got 3 wins here at this track. Seems like you hit the spot on the setup every time. So what makes this track so special for you two?
I would argue a lot of it, he is so good at tracks with a lot of character. That's a testament to the different types of cars that he drives all the time. He can adapt to so many different things. We're going to see him do that here in about 3 months, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. He's so good at moving the different lanes and how the car reacts in those different situations. I would argue we haven't had the outright best car every time that we've won. He's done a really good job on restarts. We all know how important clean air is. And yeah, we've given him something that he can drive and do what he's good at to go put it in position.
Obviously, we're now joined by the race-winning driver, Kyle Larson. We'll go over here and then continue on.
Tom Zaleski, Iron County Today. For you, Cliff, how heavy were you relying on your notes from last fall in relation to today, or did it play any part in your setups at all?
Yeah, it did a lot, and the derivation of where we were today was completely from the fall, and really identifying our weaknesses. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, at the end of the fall race, especially at the end of long runs, we were pretty weak. We had great short run pace, but we didn't have very good long run pace. So we took what that foundation was, we built on it and evolved, and I think we closed the gap from short run pace to long run pace a little bit better for today, and we'll look to do more of that for next time as well.
Do we have any more questions for Cliff or Jeff? Go up here to Jeff Gluck.
Like, the temptation is to look at this and try to make big conclusions or jump to conclusions about the whole field, right? So I'm wondering how valid you think that is. Like, if I'm looking at the Stewart-Haas cars, or like Noah had really good speed, it seemed like, or like the...
So did the 14.
Yes, yeah, and he faded, but he was good for a while. And then
Yep.
like the Spire cars. So like, did we see enough today to think that, okay, like these teams have something to build off of, or is it still too early for that at this point, do you think?
Partially both, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the year, the Stewart-Haas cars weren't always a top 5 threat, and they kind of were at times today. The 2311 cars have been really strong at intermediates. They were today. The JGR cars were strong today. My assessment of today, when I write my post-race notes on the plane tonight, is going to be that the gap is tighter than what it was in the fall across the field. And I really believe that, and I think you see it just with the different players that were inside the top 14 at any point of the race and being pretty competitive. There was times I looked through, the top 20 in the leaderboard, and if the leader ran a 31 flat, 20th ran like a 31.10. That's pretty close. Yeah.
Anything else for Cliff or Jeff? We'll go to Jenna.
Jennifer, AP. Jeff, 2 wins in 3 races. I know it's 2 completely different style tracks, but number one, how important is that for Hendrick to get off to that kind of start with 2 different drivers? And then also Chevrolet remained undefeated at 3-0, which I know that they've got to be pretty pleased about. So you've got to be off the hook for a week or so.
Yeah, for the next 3 or 4 days anyways. So, yeah, obviously a great start for Hendrick Motorsports, and winning 2 out of 3 races here, and I think what we're most proud of is what we're doing for Mr. and Mrs. Hendrick this year, and this celebration of the 40th year for them, and getting this started this way. This really couldn't go any better, and obviously if we would have won last weekend, that would have been the best it could. But just really proud of the effort that the company is putting in, and our dedication and focus, on our 40th year. And Cliff hit on it earlier, but the Chevrolet contingent right now is as tight as it's ever been, and the key partner groups and even outside of that are working really good together because, you know we have very little margin here. We know we're up against a new car with Ford and Toyota, and we have to do our best to work together and keep advancing this car. We're obviously early on in this season here, a lot of racing to go, and they will get there. As Cliff said, 45 was very good today, and you saw a couple Fords up there. And any time that you change a platform on those cars, as much as they've had, it's going to take a little bit of time. But both of those OEMs certainly have a lot of potential, and we're going to have to keep pushing really, really hard to keep ourselves in contention through the early part of the summer here, and then set ourselves up for the fall.
Jeff, Cliff, congratulations. Thank you for your time, and safe travels home.